everybody. Welcome back to the Gen Z Chronicles podcast. This is episode 2 of the series where we're going to be speaking about navigating pressures from your family and also personal and parental expectations. So I think we're going to do a quick round of the hosts that we have today and who's going to be involved in this podcast. So first, I'm Lucy and I'm an international student within this because I'm from England.
My name's Kay. I'm from OCAD. I'm in my second year.
Hello, my name's Gautam. I'm an international student as well. I'm from India.
Using Lucy's idea, I put together a poll and shared it on the OCADU International Instagram, and we heard from over 30 students. Our first question was, which influences your decisions more, family or personal goals? And honestly, I was surprised by the results. 33% said family, 67% said personal goals. Our other question was career choices, personal passions, or family expectations. We had 96% say personal passions and 4% say family expectations, which again was pretty surprising. And then I had a question about tips for balancing studying with self-care during exam period. So we got some pretty similar answers, but I heard don't be shy, ask for extensions, eat good food, make sure you're eating healthy, healthy food equals brain food, time management, take breaks and listen to music, exercise, yoga. Can you define familial expectations? What are they?
So I think for me, in terms of expectations, you've kind of got internal and external pressures. And I think family comes into external. So I think it's kind of for me, I feel like it's an obligation to do something because of something your family might want. So whether that's if your mum and dad want you to go to uni, so that's why you go to uni, or if they decide you should go into full-time work, that's why you go into that. I feel like it can kind of, the pressures can cause like a steer to a certain direction rather than what you as an individual might want. But I'm not sure if anyone else's interpretations of that are any different or anything.
Yeah, no, I think I agree. I think it's, what your family kind of pushes you towards based on either their background or their not background in some cases. I know a lot of people who weren't like university educated who really like push their kids to go to university. So yeah.
And are you guys feeling any specific pressures right now from family regarding your future career or your academic choices?
For me, in India, if you're from a working class family, you've got 3 options, right? As far as family expectations go, you've got 3 options. You either become a doctor, or you become an engineer, or you become a failure. Well, that's at least what my family believes. So that was like that for me. They wanted me to become an engineer. I couldn't become a doctor because I hadn't. I hated biology back when I was in school. So I said to them, I'm not going to become a doctor no matter what you try. So well, then you go become an engineer. Let's say. But then I brought this entrance examination, which was very, very selective to my university, and I got in, and I wanted to go. It was for industrial design, right? And it's a very selective, very niche field that not a lot of people work in. So they were really, really skeptical about it. And I had to do quite a bit of convincing. I had to bring in alumni from this university that I'm planning to go to, and had them convince my family to let me go.
Oh my
So
God.
I did that. And I eventually ended up, but for right now though, I'm about to graduate, and it's much better. I do have a clear direction as to how to approach my career in the future. I've not started my career. I've just had a few internships so far. But my family would still like me to follow their career aspirations for me. They'd have me work the civil service examination and have me become a civil servant with the central government. I don't want to do that. I don't want to be working for the central government. I want to do other things. But right now I feel like I've got more control over my own career than I did back when I was 17.
Yeah. That's so interesting, actually, especially when you said like the push to be like a doctor or an engineer, because even here in like England, a lot of my friends, because I know quite a few people who are studying to become a doctor, and I think 4 out of 5 of them are Indian. Like, I don't actually think I know anyone or recognize anybody who would be like white British who's been pushed towards a doctor career or anything like that. So I think it can be quite culturally led sometimes as well. For me, it's a little bit different. So I study like broadcast journalism, which is like, it's kind of content creation but about newsworthy topics essentially. And in terms of my family, it's quite funny because my dad is convinced I've come to be a weatherwoman, so he doesn't really understand my course. But it's, I think out of my family, I'm in like the less than 5 people who have gone to uni, because it was just never, like, my family aren't like not intelligent or anything, just uni was never pushed on them. So it's, it wasn't really expected of me to go to uni. However, out of my family, I'm one of the only ones who kind of got quite high grades. So even though I was never pushed to go to uni, because I'm in uni, I feel like it set this expectation that I'm like this rare person in the family, and that it's, even though they were never like, you have to go to uni, you've got to do this, it's now, okay, you've gone to uni, so we're expecting big things from you now. And throughout uni, there was part of me that was like, do I want to do this course? And when I not brought up the idea of dropping out but possibly changing, they were like, oh my god, you can't do that. And it's kind of, I think because I've gone to uni, it's kind of built this standard that wasn't really there before, but it's kind of like, it's this expectation to constantly be doing great things. And journalism and media is such a huge industry to break into. So I mentioned that it's kind of quite a slim chance to go straight into the industry out of uni. Like, I might have to maybe go back and do some bar work or restaurant work to save up money. And I feel like they can't really comprehend the idea that you can't just get a degree and, yeah, suddenly you're a journalist. Or if you're studying law, you don't just graduate and suddenly you're a lawyer. There is that like bridge in between to getting there.
Yeah, even I like almost 100% relate with both Lucy and Gautam, because when I was a kid, like in my ninth and 10th grade, I was a pretty decent kid. Like, I used to score good marks, and that raised the expectations of my parents, saying that I'll only go to top tier colleges in my country now. Like, I won't settle for anything less than that. And so it also, I mean, I was also a kid. I didn't have any experience of the world, and it's like my child innocence was to just like go forward, like do it and just like obey what my parents are saying. And that led me to a lot of pressure in the start of my career. I went into the career of engineering, which my father like wanted me to do initially, but like I couldn't do it. Even if I was good in the like in my school studies, like that was a little bit tough for me. And I wanted to design like since long, and I tried to convince. They were pretty open about it, but yeah, like this the career of my life was a little bit rough for me.
That kind of goes back to the poll again. I mean, I want to ask you guys, what do you personally think influences your decisions more? Is it your personal passions or your family pressures?
I would honestly say mine's like a blend of them both, because I think, I know that obviously a lot of people like this, I'm a huge like overthinker, so it's kind of like, I think in my head I blow up my family's expectation a bit bigger than it is. Like, in terms of grades and stuff, my family's more just, we just want you to pass, like that's it. Like, whether I graduate with a first class degree or a second, I honestly don't think they could care less. But in my head, I feel like I got a grade that was like a high second, which is a good, no, I got a mid second, which is a good grade. But for me, that was the lowest grade that I'd got through being at uni. And it was weird to kind of speak to my family about it, because I'd convinced myself they were going to be like frustrated or like disappointed. And I think my family just struggle to understand grades that aren't like ABC. So when I was trying to explain it, they were like, but have you passed? And I was like, yeah, but, and they were like, well, that's fine then. They were like, that's all that matters. So sometimes it's, I think, a mix of both. I think it can start from parental pressure, but then if you get in your head about it too much, it kind of then leads to personal, for me specifically, I think.
Yeah, I get that. I think I'm more personal pressure than parental. But it's because my parents are also like, I'm studying to become an artist, essentially. And like, I don't know, most kids at OCAD will probably agree that like you either
Yeah.
have parental support in that, you really don't. And my parents have always been super supportive of me doing art, and I think like recently getting into galleries and stuff in the last like 5 years has like proved that it's a job, but I know for a lot of people it's not seen as a job.
I feel like parents can sometimes be like the biggest belittlers of things. Like I feel like when you're a kid, they always say like dream big, you can be anything you want to be. And sometimes you'll say, oh, I want to be this, and they're like, oh, that's not really what I had set out for you. So maybe think of something else. It's kind of, I think as
Gotham's
soon as you
smiling.
hit
He's
like,
like, yes.
yeah, I think as soon as you hit like 14, 15, they're like, okay, you need to be an adult now. And I'm like, I'm still 15. Like, I don't want
Yeah.
to. When schools are like, you need to think of what you want to do for the rest of your life when you're like 15 years old, I think it's insane. Like, I was like, I've got no idea. Like, I think I
Yeah.
only decided to go into journalism literally in sixth form because I had no idea what I wanted to do. Like I had hobbies and stuff, but I like making stuff and I'm on my phone a lot. So yeah, let's go with this. And it's sometimes even when you're like 30, you don't know what you're doing. So I think it's sometimes a struggle when your parents have like set careers. They want you to go down, like Gotham said, about engineering or doctors or anything like that.
Yeah. What about you guys, Kunal and Gotham? What do you?
Yeah, so there's like one more thing that like I would like to highlight is like the part where our parents bestow their expectations upon us. They also come through people other than like my parents, like for example, relatives, like brothers of my father and like sisters of my mother, like all of them,
Yeah.
like they have different worldviews of their own like world, and they like converse with each other, and that raises the expectations of my parents. Like the kid next door is doing so good than my kid, so why can't my kid do? Like that's like
Yeah.
a whole other layer.
Yeah, exactly. How about you, Gotham?
Yeah, well, I think it's a bit of a meme that Asian parents are very strict about their kids' grades, and it has been like that for me throughout my childhood, but not so much anymore since I've gone to the university. But I think as for parental expectations, for me, they essentially what they wanted us to be able to brag about me to other people. I think that's what gives them joy, and I understand that, right? They want to be able to say, "Oh, my child's a doctor. My kid's an engineer. Is working for this company. Is making so much money." Or at least they want to pretend like that, right? But and it was a problem because I didn't. What I wanted to do when I was 17 wasn't very much brag worthy, you know. But right now. It's become more of a brag-worthy thing. Like a lot of people are going to Europe and Canada for studies, and they're getting work there. And it used to be the case that this was not very culturally desirable in my state, but now it's become more desirable. So my preference is currently aligned with those of my parents right now at the moment. They'd still very much like me to stay in India and do some other stuff that they're more like to brag about, but you know, I think I guess I'm lucky that there was a way of immigration to Canada.
When you're growing up in a very competitive environment, it's like it's not just a competition of sport or dance. It's like Kinal said, it's like a competition of people and like your dad's friends' kids and your dad's friends' cousins' child and like stuff like that. And it feels like you get told don't compare yourself to other people, but it's always seems, and you get told that by your parents, but then it's always your parents comparing you to other people. So I feel like that's sometimes what makes it like a little bit more difficult as well to try focus on what you're doing when you're constantly being compared to others.
You know, we were talking about these pressures. How do you deal with this? Do you guys have any boundaries? That's something I've really had to learn as an adult, and like going to therapy has really helped me, speak to people and figure out these things that these pressures I've grown up with. Do you guys have your own ways of setting boundaries with family or maybe with yourself?
I mean, for me, I've set like hardcore boundaries. So I'm also probably a little bit older than everybody here. I'm technically a very young millennial. And so like I came out as queer pretty early on. I left my very small town. And basically like went decently like non-communicative with my parents for like a very long time, and the rest of my family for also a very long time, until we could like sit down and have like conversations about how they treated people that I brought around, how they treated like girlfriends, how they treated like just me in gender, like general, with like gender and stuff. And I think it was like honestly, it was 5 or 6 years of only seeing them at Christmas and like big holidays, but not talking to them like any other times. And I think that helped them sort of like come around. But it was years. Like it took years, and now we have like frank conversations where I'll be like, hey, like this is something I don't want to discuss, or like this is a boundary that I have, and I'm like pretty frank about it, but it's taken a long time, I think, to get there. But I don't know about you guys.
I haven't been like yet able to set up rigid boundaries with my parents regarding expectations. There's still conflicts about what I want to do and what they want me to do. So yeah, that's and the second thing is I try to be as transparent as I can about my life, but like at some point I not like I have to stop, right? And then like at the end of the day, I know that whatever I'm going to do, it's like all it's obviously for my good, and I hope like I really hope that they will also understand of like forecasting my career 5 to 6 years down the line. They'll know like whatever decisions I've took right now will like gather and like will make up for everything that's going on right now.
How about you, Gotham?
As for me, I think I'm probably very aggressive with setting up boundaries because no, I've got a good reason for it. Every member of my family, my extended family, have different ideals as to what I should pursue as a career path. Now, one example is that this very particular uncle that I have, who I used to look up back when I was a child, so I still look up to him, but. About like 5 to 6 years ago, tensions with India and China were brewing, and there were talks of potential war that was going to happen, because there was no war, thankfully. But this uncle would tell me to join the military. No, I didn't think of it. I didn't think of it much back then, but then later I did some introspection and really thought to myself, what is this uncle of mine trying to do? He's setting me up to be killed by a Chinese soldier, which I don't want to do. I don't want to die for my country. Yeah. Right? And so I figured, these people have different things that they want from me than I do. And I'm pretty sure that my uncle would be honored to die for his country, but not me. Mm-hmm. As everyone views you from a lens that they are most familiar with, that they want their ideal human is different to my ideal human, right? So yeah. I figured, I'm not going to listen to any of these guys, no matter what they say. I'm not going to take advice. I'm going to probably go to friends or the internet to get advice. That's what I did.
Yeah. And this again goes back to the question of like, yeah, maybe you do need to set boundaries, separate from your parents for X amount of time. And then also you have friends for support, chosen family. You guys have any techniques or things that you do to kind of help your mental health, whether you're seeing therapists or you're going to yoga or anything like that?
Therapy. Everybody needs therapy. I don't care who you are. Go to therapy. Yes, your college or university has a program, join it.
Yeah. I feel like there's like this expectation that like if you mention therapy, it's like, oh, you're depressed. And that's not always the case. But I think it's like, obviously, in a lot of cases, that is the reason why. But I think even if you don't have any like diagnosed mental health issues, uni is a very mentally, even college is a very mentally straining like place. So I think I would highly recommend therapy to anyone, because if you think you can ring your friends and have this huge rant and stuff, but sometimes that can be a bit emotionally like, oh, this is so much to comprehend. Like I feel like therapy, especially like Kay said, if it's like kind of built into your institution as like a free thing, it's like a free ranting session. Do you know what I mean? Like, this is really annoying, this is really annoying me. And it's nice to get that unbiased opinion as well. Like, it's difficult if you're in like a friend group and you're ranting about someone, they're going to give a biased opinion, and it's nice to kind of have that third party view of maybe this is what my family's doing, or this is what's this. And especially when they're older, to kind of have that viewpoint and for them to sometimes rationalize your thought. Like, I don't think therapy is always just for people who are depressed, it's for anybody. So I think that's something which definitely helps me for sure.
Yes, so therapy. I figured what Lucy was saying about speaking about therapy, and I figured this out very late into my life, about like when I was in uni. And so one vacation, I on semester break, I went up to my mum. Well, I think I'm constantly sad, and I think it might be just I need to go to see I need to go to a therapist, and she's like, honey, that's what the crazy people do. Crazy people go, you don't know what crazy, right? And she literally laughed at me. And then when I did go to a therapist, we were talking. Well, I eventually convinced my mom to take me to a therapist. She'd come to, and we eventually got to talking. And my therapist was like, "Do you pray to God?" And I said, "No, I don't. I'm an atheist. You should start praying to God." A lot of the therapists in the country are very religion oriented, if you will, and they have very, very outdated notions of how a lot of these people were educated in the 70s and the 80s. So you can't assume, So so that's the state of therapy in my country as it is. Plus, it's really expensive. Really expensive.
Yeah.
It's not something I could afford.
It is.
Like, real, even so, and the better ones are even more expensive. And the comparatively less worse ones are even more expensive. So I've had to essentially push myself through it, through everything alone so far. But it's the way it is.
Yeah, I had a very religious therapist at one point who was like an ex-priest, and I was like, nope, I have to leave.
Yeah, it's so weird when you have that. Like, I think especially where I am, it's like I grew up like going to church, and then I don't know, religious is such a weird thing for me. I wouldn't say that I am religious, but also I wouldn't say I'm not. But where I am is, I don't know if this is just a UK thing, but there'll be like preachers in the street that I'm not objected against. But what I am objected by is when they are screaming at you when you're walking past, and it's like they'll see like two girls holding hands, and they're like, "You're going to hell, like you're not good." And it's like, oh my God, it's like so weird that it's actually kind of when you have that person manifested then into like a therapist, they're like, this is an open space. I'm like, but it really isn't. Like, I can't sit and speak to you about homosexuality without.
Yeah, I was saying I haven't tried any therapy till now, but like as we all are discussing, I should probably try. And OCAD has a good thing, like they provide the So like before I get out of the university, like it's good to have one. But like there are two things that I do like just for my mental health. It might sound cliche, but like I work out and I like listen to like badass metal songs while working out. Like I don't know, just and the second thing is like I don't do this quite often, but I sometimes write out things like on sketchbook or on on my iPad, and also try to sketch things that just puts out my thoughts out in the world. That doesn't need to be like any conversing with a person. It's just like putting out thoughts, like decreases stress on my brain or something. Yeah.
I highly recommend journaling too. I keep a journal, and it is just nice to like have somewhere to kind of word vomit what your day was, and if it was like, if it was shit, if it was good. It's also like you have something to go back and remember what your mindset used to be when you were like 20 or like 25 or whatever. Yeah, I mean, that's cool.
Words is not my thing, so I mostly sketch.
Yeah.
That is a great point. Not everybody has access to therapy, so writing is again really great. I recommend a book called The Artist's Way. They have an activity called the morning pages, which is basically like the first thing in the morning, keep a notebook next to your bed, and you just kind of write thoughts going through your head, and kind of sets you, for a fresh slate in the morning. So that's another option. And I know there's also, I don't know the exact names, but there's a lot of options for like online therapy if you want to just do it, separate from your parents or things like that, with sliding scale. And yes, OCAD has the Student Wellness Center as well. So lots of options. But yeah, therapy is definitely important. As we head into the last part of the podcast, I just want to ask you guys if you have any final thoughts or words of encouragement for listeners who might be struggling with personal pressures, parental pressures.
It's okay not to talk to your parents. I think everybody goes
Yeah.
through that. I think it's like it's you'll be grateful for them later on in life, but I think your 20s are to be like, fuck you, mom and dad. Like, you did all this stuff. And then I'm in my 30s. Like, I just entered my 30s now, and am repairing my own relationship with my parents. And it's like been super healing and it's amazing. I'm glad that it's happening. And I think I think that's normal. I think
Yeah.
people sometimes think it's abnormal to like, oh, I feel a lot of shame around not talking to them. But yeah, no, it's fine to not talk to your parents.
Picking and choosing the vulnerabilities you show your parents as well, because sometimes it's sad when this happens, but it does happen. Sometimes people will exploit your vulnerability and it can kind of turn you into a spiral. And in terms of, I think Jasmine mentioned this very briefly before, which I think is a good thing, is like parental pressures. Like, family isn't always blood. You've got your like chosen family as well, that I think can definitely help, especially for people like me and Kay have both spoke about. Sometimes like family struggles like that, like sometimes your chosen family do have your best interest at heart. So I would say make sure to pick and choose your
That's
people.
true.
Yeah.
I think a lot of us are, when we're kids, we saw our parents as these as basically gods, right? They basically decide our life. They know so much more things than we do, and they can help us in a lot of different ways. But once you turn 18, once you're an adult, many people don't realize that they are separate people with separate intentions and separate lives and separate ideas. But not just for them, but for you as well. And a lot of people have trouble understanding and identifying that transition phase, and saying, well, I'm a separate individual now. I get to be selective as to how I talk to my parents, and what I tell them. And a lot of people don't realize that. I think that's a problem, because parents can sometimes really, really F up your life. And I know people who've listened to their parents and did things that they regret 30 years down the line. I certainly would have regretted my life right now if I had listened to my parents. So it's okay not to.
100%.
I know it can be tricky, because a lot of us still depend on our parents, both emotionally and financially. But it's at times it can be a worthwhile trade-off to make.
Yeah. What about you, Kunal? What do you think?
Yeah, I was thinking the same. Like I had a very similar experiences. Like I was honestly surprised. Like initially, my expectations were, since we are all from like different parts of the world, we might have different experiences with parents, with life, but it's so similar. Like it's like blown my mind. Like it's like me talking to like me. That's a pretty cool thing.
Yeah, I think it is. I think everybody goes through very similar things. It's just that the specifics of those those things are like just a little different. But it is like it's a lot of the same journey.
Yeah, it is quite odd being on this call and knowing that like Garth is from India and you guys are from Canada, and I'm like, you think that like the world is like so huge, so you don't think you're going to be similar in any sort of ways, but we're just here like preach 100%. Like, I get exactly where you're coming from, which is quite good.
Yeah, that's why these conversations are important to have. So it's great that we get together to do that. Okay, I have a little segment called Quick Fire Q&A. I know we kind of had a heavier topic, so this is just something light to end the podcast. So I'll call on your name, and then you can just answer the question with one word or one sentence.
Oh, God.
Okay. Kunal, it's exam week. What is your go-to study snack?
Omelette.
Okay.
Oh, so healthy.
Gotham, what's your favorite extracurricular? Yes. Actually, what kind of omelet? Let's be specific.
Sunny side up.
Oh, you mean egg? Just an egg?
Yeah, just an egg.
Oh,
Wait, so you
okay,
don't have
okay.
anything on it?
Just salt and pepper. That's like the simplest and the best thing in the world.
I
Hey,
don't think I've ever
Omega, good
had
for
like
your
a plain
brain.
omelette.
Yeah,
I
the
think I
eggs are
always
good
put
for your
something in
brain.
it. Brain food.
Gotham, what is your favorite extracurricular activity?
Video games.
Which games are you playing right now?
I'm playing this older game called Mafia right now. It's an American game that's set in the 1930s, I think. Really immersive.
Yeah.
Really love it. Got a good bit of driving and shooting as well. It's a story-based game. I like these sort of narrative experiences.
I've played
as
that
I
game.
intend- You have? It's
Yeah, I
really
have.
good.
That's cool.
Kay, what is the biggest university myth?
Oh, the biggest university myth that we're intelligent, I think. Um, I think the biggest university myth is like that it's any different or better than college.
That's a
I've
good
been to
one.
both. It's about the same. I learned more in college though.
Yeah, I think I learned more in
Oh,
school.
wow.
Nice. Okay, Lucy, study music. What's been on repeat on your music playlist?
Anything piano, and it has to be instrumental. I know people who listen to like mainstream music, it's the biggest distraction for me, but anything piano or violin. If you've ever
Same.
watched Gilmore Girls, I sound like such a nerd, but I literally type in on Spotify like a Rory Gilmore playlist, and suddenly it's like I'm working my way through. So I would recommend anything. Like I don't like lo-fi beats, but something piano is nice
Yeah.
because it kind of gets you in like the zone.
Nice.
I'm 100% typing that into YouTube later while
Yeah.
I'm painting. That's awesome.
Literally, it's just like, oh, you're Rory Gilmore, and it's like 4 hours, and it's like suddenly this work I've put off for 3 weeks is done within 20 minutes.
Okay, and I have two more questions. This one can go to everybody. What is your dream study abroad destination? So if you could go anywhere in the world, all expenses
Germany.
paid.
Germany?
Oh,
Is that what you said?
Yep.
Nice.
nice.
Italy, land of the pasta, like that would get me through any exam. Do you know what I mean? Just knowing that pasta, pizza, amazing.
I'm kind of the same. I feel like it's like southern France or Italy
Ooh,
because
nice.
food and wine. That would get me through
What more do you
everything.
need?
Yeah.
If I'm going to like settle there forever, it'd be probably Canada.
Yeah.
And,
Wow.
but, Canada's
Nice.
got this reputation as a very wealthy, open to immigrants country, like no other country has. So it's not really naturally I like Canada. But if I'm like going
That's
to
true.
visit for like an exchange semester or anything, I might want to go to China or Cuba perhaps. But
Oh,
these are countries
Cuba.
like
Oh,
different
that would be
cultures,
nice.
languages. Really like to go to China.
Yeah.
Nice.
I thought
Okay.
like my friend went to Thailand and they were like, it's just cool. Like they ended up staying there. They live there now.
Oh my
They
God.
like
Oh.
married somebody there and they're like, this is my house. This is my home.
That's
I'm very
amazing.
jealous.
Nice. Okay, this was a great episode. Lucy, can you close this out?
Oh God, if I have to. So that is the end of episode 2 of the Gen Z Chronicles. If you haven't watched the first one, I think we would all highly recommend go and watch that. I think that's when it was a general episode just about surviving university life and our tips and tricks for getting through just academic life. So yeah, look out for episode 3, which if you go on the OCAD University Instagram, I'm sure that there'll be some posts about what that's going to be very soon. But yeah, I think from all of us, a huge thank you for listening, and we hope that you have enjoyed, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Bye.